My cousin David called me on a Monday morning absolutely shaken. 68 years old, retired carpenter from regional Victoria, has been driving for 49 years. Not one serious accident, not one licence suspension. The kind of driver who indicates even when there is nobody behind him. He had just come back from trying to renew his licence. He walked in expecting a 10-minute process, the same process he had done half a dozen times before. He walked out 2 hours later without a valid licence, holding a stack of paperwork he had never seen before, with a list of medical assessments he had to complete before his licence could be renewed. He called me from the car park. He said, "Nobody told me any of this had changed. I have been driving since before that woman at the counter was born. How is this happening? And here is what stopped me cold when he told me." David is not unusual. Across Australia right now, in car parks outside transport offices, in GP waiting rooms, in the kitchens of homes in suburbs and regional towns, there are senior drivers having the exact same experience, showing up to renew a licence they have held for decades and discovering for the first time that the rules changed. Most of them are finding out the same way David did, at the counter, when it is already too late to prepare. From early 2026, Australia enforced major changes to driving licence regulations across every state and territory. These changes affect senior drivers aged 65 and above, introducing tougher medical requirements, shorter renewal periods, and stricter consequences for non-compliance. Most Australian senior drivers have no idea this happened. Today, I am going to make sure you are not David. By the end of this video, you will know exactly what changed, which rules apply in your state, what the new medical requirements are, and what you need to do right now before your next renewal to make sure you keep the independence you have spent a lifetime building. This is Australia Pension Hub. Let us get into it. Let me start with the most important thing I need you to understand about these changes. There is a lot of confusion out there, and some of that confusion is causing seniors to panic unnecessarily. Rumours of blanket licence cancellations at age 65 or 75 have spread online. But that is not what is happening. Nobody is automatically losing their licence because of their age. What is happening is that the process for renewing a licence as a senior driver has become significantly more detailed, more medically focused, and in some states more frequent. And the consequences for not completing that process correctly and on time have become more serious. The intent is road safety, not punishment, and the overwhelming majority of senior drivers will continue driving without major issues, provided they understand what the new process requires and provided they prepare for it properly, in advance. The problem is that most senior drivers do not know the rules have changed, and they are finding out at the counter at the moment of renewal when there is no time left to prepare. So what exactly has changed? Let me go through the specific new requirements state by state. New South Wales first. Drivers aged 75 and older in New South Wales are required to have a current annual medical assessment confirming they are fit to drive, not just at renewal, every year. If that assessment lapses, even by a few weeks, a licence can be suspended automatically, not after a warning, automatically. And the specific form a doctor completes must meet the current requirements of Transport for NSW. If a GP fills in an outdated form or completes it incorrectly, it gets rejected, and the process has to start again from scratch. Victoria. Victoria is transitioning from 5-year to 3-year licence renewals for drivers over 75, and expanded medical disclosure requirements introduced in 2026 mean that drivers with certain health conditions now have additional reporting obligations that did not previously apply. The Victorian approach emphasises individual assessment over age-based rules. But that does not mean seniors in Victoria are unaffected. The new disclosure requirements are real, and they are already catching people who were not aware they applied. Queensland. Seniors in Queensland need to provide a medical certificate each year once they reach around 75. Renewals are tied to those health checks. And here is the part that surprises most Queensland seniors. It is a legal requirement for drivers over 75 in Queensland to carry their valid medical certificate at all times while driving, not at home, not in a drawer, on your person, every time you get behind the wheel. Western Australia. Annual medical checks now apply from around age 80 in Western Australia, and earlier review triggers now apply for drivers with certain high-risk health conditions, even before 80. South Australia and Tasmania have both updated their requirements in line with the national framework. More frequent renewal cycles, medical assessments tied to health conditions, stricter compliance requirements around the timing and submission of assessments. Now let me talk about the part that is causing the most unexpected licence suspensions across Australia: the medical assessment itself. The 2026 requirements for a senior driver medical assessment are specific and detailed. A GP is required to assess general health, motor skills, cognitive abilities, vision, and any medications that might affect driving ability. And here is the mistake that is costing seniors their licenses unnecessarily. They book an appointment with their regular GP. The GP, through absolutely no fault of their own, is not fully across the current national medical standards for fitness to drive. They complete whatever form they have available, they send it in, and the form gets rejected, wrong version, filled in incorrectly, missing a required section, and now the senior has to start from scratch, while their renewal deadline gets closer. The solution is straightforward, but it requires preparation that most people are not doing. Before your next medical assessment, call your GP and specifically ask whether they are familiar with the current Austroad's medical standards for fitness to drive. Ask them to confirm they have the most recent version of the required forms for your state. If there is any uncertainty, ask for a referral to a driver, rehabilitation specialist, or an occupational therapist who conducts these assessments regularly. These professionals know exactly what the Transport Authority is looking for, and having them conduct your assessment significantly reduces the risk of rejection or delay. Now let me address something that most people do not know about when they receive a concerning assessment result: conditional licenses. Failing an assessment does not always mean losing your license. A doctor who flags concerns about your fitness to drive is not automatically cancelling your license. They are triggering a process, and part of that process may result in a conditional license that allows you to keep driving, just with some boundaries, perhaps only during daylight hours, perhaps only within a defined distance from your home, perhaps not on freeways. Most seniors do not know to ask about this. They hear that their assessment raised concerns, and they assume the answer is no. They do not ask about conditional licenses. They do not ask about review processes. If you receive a medical assessment result that concerns you, ask your doctor specifically about conditional license options. Ask what the process is for reviewing a fitness to drive decision, and if needed, seek a second medical opinion from a doctor who specializes in this area. The result of one assessment is often not the end of the road, but only if you know to ask. Now, medications. Because this is the aspect of the 2026 changes that is catching the most people completely off guard. Certain medications, legal medications prescribed by a doctor, can affect the ability to drive safely. Certain sedatives, some blood pressure medications, some pain relievers, some antihistamines, some antidepressants. Under Australian law, it is illegal to drive while impaired by any substance that affects the ability to drive safely, including a legally prescribed medication, even if taken exactly as instructed. Under the new 2026 medical assessment requirements, a GP is specifically required to consider medications as part of the fitness to drive assessment. Medications that previously went unmentioned in a routine license renewal are now part of the formal process. This does not mean taking any of these medications automatically disqualifies a senior from driving. It means the doctor needs to consider them, and if any medication could affect driving, that needs to be documented and addressed as part of the license renewal. What you need to do before your next assessment: make a complete list of every medication you currently take, prescription and over-the-counter. Bring that list to your medical assessment appointment and ask your doctor specifically whether any of them could affect your fitness to drive. Address any medication concerns before the assessment, not during it. Now, vision. Because it is the single most common reason seniors face complications in a fitness to drive assessment. The minimum vision standard for driving in Australia is the ability to read a number plate from 20 metres away with both eyes open, with or without glasses. What most drivers do not know is that the assessment also evaluates the field of vision. Peripheral sight. How wide the visual range is when looking straight ahead. Conditions like glaucoma, macular degeneration, and untreated cataracts can affect peripheral vision without a driver fully realizing it. The vision may feel perfectly fine, but the field of vision may have narrowed in ways that only a formal assessment will detect. And if the field of vision does not meet the minimum standard, a license renewal can be refused, even after 50 years of accident-free driving. What you need to do: book a comprehensive eye test that specifically includes a visual field assessment, not just a standard optometrist check, a full assessment. If there is an issue, catching it early means there is time to get treatment or see a specialist before the renewal deadline arrives. Book it now, not the week before the renewal is due. Now let me bring everything together in one clear action plan. Action 1. Know your specific state requirements right now. Go to your State Transport Authority website today or call them. Find out exactly what is required for your age group at your next renewal. Do not assume the rules are the same as last time. Action 2. Book your medical assessment at least 3 months before your license expires. Things take longer than expected. Referrals take time. If a form needs to be resubmitted, you need enough runway to do it without running out of time. Action 3. Call your GP before your appointment. Confirm they are familiar with the current Ostroad standards. Confirm they have the current forms for your state. If there is any uncertainty, ask about a referral to a driver rehabilitation specialist. Action 4. Get a comprehensive eye test, including a visual field assessment. Book it now. Action 5. Review your medications with your GP before your assessment. Make a full list. Ask specifically whether any of them could affect your fitness to drive. Action 6. If you receive a concerning assessment result, ask about conditional license options before accepting it as final. Ask about the review process. Ask about your right to a second opinion. The first result is not always the last word. David eventually sorted out his license. It took 6 weeks, 3 GP appointments, a referral to a specialist, more paperwork than he had dealt with in years, but he got it. He called me after he picked up his renewed license and said something I want every senior driver to hear. He said, if someone had told me what to prepare for 6 months ago, this would have taken 3 weeks instead of 6, and I would not have had to sit at home for 6 weeks, wondering if I would ever drive again. That is what preparation does. It takes a 6-week ordeal and turns it into a 3-week process. It takes an unexpected crisis and turns it into a manageable appointment. The rules have changed. They are real. They are being enforced. And the senior drivers who know what to prepare for and who start preparing now are the ones who will sail through their next renewal without losing a day of independence. The ones who find out at the counter will not be so fortunate. Share this with every senior driver you know, because what happened to David is happening across Australia right now, and the only thing that prevents it is knowing what is coming before you walk through that door. Drop a comment and tell us, did you know about these new requirements? And when is your next license renewal due? We read every single one. See you in the next one.